Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about a couple of different topics, but the main one is the normalization of child sexualization, pedophilia, this kind of stuff, where they're sexualizing children, young children, and the media, the powers that be, whatever, they're trying to normalize it in our culture. And I see this all the time. And this subject ties into a lot of different subjects. And that's how and why it's being normalized. And it's from a lot of different ways. The main reason it's being normalized is debatable, but the fact that it's being normalized is not. All right, now most people have heard about I think it was Seattle or one of those woke progressive cities where the transvestites or whatever, the dudes dressing up as women, doing trans story hour for little kindergartners. I saw a video where this guy was teaching them how to twerk, and up there shaking his ass, teaching the little kindergartners how to twerk. And there was a mother in the background, and she was just so happy that, that this dude was up there in front of her kid teaching him how to twerk. It's just sickening. And online a lot I see this MAPS thing that stands for minor attracted person. And they're trying to push this message out, this idea out, that MAPS, this minor attraction shit, is a persuasion, like heterosexual or homosexual or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just a sexual preference. It's not a deviancy. It's not an evil kink or anything like that. It's just a normal sexual preference. So, and I see this a lot. And not only from the left or from the progressives pushing this shit, but from the people against it, because they'll screenshot that shit and repost it, right? So now you're seeing that message 2 and 3 times more than if it was just ignored by people reposting this shit to show how stupid it is. But in the society's subconscious, this message is still coming at us, even by the people who are against it. They're unwittingly pushing this idea into society, right? Into our culture. And it's just not good. It's not good to normalize these things. Normalize is like over here in Western civilization, we eat beef, right? We eat beef. It's just a normal thing. You don't even think about it. I mean, some people are vegans or vegetarian or whatever, and some people have religious reasons they don't eat beef. But as a rule, you don't even think about it. Look at McDonald's and all these fast food restaurants. They serve tons and tons of beef every year. It's just part of our culture. It's normal. You don't think twice about it. But if you went to another culture, and I'm not talking about race or country or any culture. I keep pounding that drum. It's culture. You go to another culture, that's completely prohibited. It's just horrifying to think about eating a cow. Because that's normalized. So you can normalize things on just about any spectrum. Now, to say and to prove that point is that Islam thing. Now, Islam is through many countries, through many races, it's not about any of that. It's about culture. That Islamic culture, pedophilia is not a thing. That's normal. It's completely normal. It's okay. And I did not realize that until recently. But I've watched interviews of veterans who've been over there. I've seen news reports and stuff coming out of the UK of what they do to kids over there, and they are doing to kids over here. It's just not to the epidemic level that it reached in the UK yet. So that can be normalized. And it is being normalized in a country near you. It's being normalized around you. It's being normalized. So we've got to push back against this. I've said it before, this is a culture war. It's online. We need to start pushing back against this kind of stuff. And when we see this stuff, we've got to realize what it is. Call it a psyop, call it brainwashing, social conditioning, whatever you want to call it, whatever your favorite term is. It's all of that and more and worse. If you've got young kids, they don't need to see that kind of shit. We need to start policing this shit. And becoming aware of what it is. Now, these other cultures coming across our border is another direction that this stuff is being normalized, right? Because you have more people over here who think that it's normal. That's an okay thing to do. You can grab a child off the street and just drag her into a trailer and have your way with her. But, well, what's wrong with that? So you have people coming over here like this, and that's why I keep talking about this border situation. I have a lot of people telling me, oh, we can't, what, immigration's a wonderful thing. Who would pick the apples? All right. So this is the argument you're going to hear a lot. Who would pick the vegetables? Who would pick the fruit? Well, Americans will pick the fruit. Americans will pick the vegetables. And the fact that we don't is a testament to how far we've fallen. Now, my grandfather dug potatoes for a job, 10 hours a day, to support his family. It was a job. It wasn't the greatest job, but you do it for a while until you get a better job. That's how that kind of shit is. But it was outside. He was breathing fresh air. He was getting sunshine. And he lived to a ripe old age. Now, but that was normalized back then. That was okay. That was a perfectly honorable thing to do. Okay? Now it's fast forward to 2025, and that's frowned upon. That's young kids today. Number one, they're not looking to settle down and have a family, right? Number two, they're not. They know that the wages in that stuff aren't enough to pay for a family. You know, you can't make a living wage doing it. But that's because it's flooded with cheap labor because of immigration. You can't make a living wage. And I'm not talking out my ass. My dad used to drag me out there to pick apples and cherries in the Yakima Valley. So I know what I'm talking about. When I was 13 years old. And the reason I did it is because I didn't have a choice. My dad would have beat my ass. Then I would have gone out there in pain and had to pick the damn apples. So I know what it's like to go out in an orchard and pick apples for 8-10 hours a day. Yeah, it sucks. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. These kids nowadays, these young kids, young men, they don't have to do it. They'll sit there at their mom's house and, play video games all day. If they have a relationship at all, they'll, knock some girl up and the girl will end up getting on welfare or making an OnlyFans account or some shit like that. And he'll have to pay child support, which his mom will probably end up paying. So we need to normalize hard work, get out and get some fresh air, exercise. Now, if young kids in between, between high school and college, if they went and worked a year or two in a manual labor job like picking fruit or vegetables or something, it would make them appreciate college and higher education and experience a little bit of life. and what hard work is about. And they will appreciate their next job as a software engineer or whatever, because they can look back and they know what hard work is. These kids nowadays have no idea what hard work is. The hardest thing they have to do is set their controller down and get up and go to the fridge and get a glass of orange juice or a Monster or a Red Bull or whatever. And this is the downfall of society. We're watching society crumble in real time. And these are the reasons why. This is what is happening. It used to be okay to go out and work hard. Now it's not anymore. It used to be frowned upon to molest a child. And another 10, 20 years, it won't be anymore. That'll be an okay thing to do. And this normalization, right? Now, we're seeing all this through the internet. All of these messages are being pushed through the internet. Well, they're going to start using AI here if they haven't already. They're about to start doing it in the near future. These big, large language models like ChatGPT and stuff like that. They're going to start using AI, and they're going to make all these accounts, not bots, not full-fledged, indiscernible from human being accounts. All right? And they can make 10 million of them with a flick of a switch, with a tap of a keyboard. 10 million accounts out there, 10 million people out there, pushing what ideas, pushing what agendas. Now, if you get on there and you get, let's say you've got 10,000 followers on a social media platform, okay? 9,000 of them could be AI. And they all start influencing the group. These AI, they're not even human beings. They have no skin in the game because they have no skin. They're going to start influencing our culture. They're going to start influencing our politics, our ideas, our way of life. Just in the ether. They don't even exist. This is coming down the pipe, if it's not there already in the beginnings. This is true. Now, these things are happening. And to bridge that gap and say that AI is going to help normalize this child sexualization, who's to say it's not? With all this Epstein shit and all this Sean Combs, P. Diddy shit going on. Now, who are these elites that went out there to this Epstein Island? Right? Why was Epstein arrested in the first place? Why did they raid him? Does anyone know? Does anyone, even if you have an idea or you heard something, do you know the truth? Why was he raided all of a sudden? He's been servicing these politicians and these upper crust society scumbags for decades, and all of a sudden they're going to do the right thing and pop him and drag him in there, and so he can delete himself, right? In quotes, delete himself. And the same thing with Combs. He ran that thing there for decades, right? So why pop him all of a sudden? Why bust him all of a sudden? I'd never heard a public outcry. I never heard of Jeffrey Epstein until they arrested him. I had no idea. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there like me. They had no idea who that was. Never heard of that island until they arrested him. So it had nothing to do with us, is my point. The reason these people were arrested. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a public outcry. So, but it just points to the fact that our politicians and all these elite businessmen and actors and singers and stuff, they're wrapped up in this shit. Whether it's a satanic cult who's abducting and doing these things to these children, or whether it's lizard aliens, I don't know. But it's happening. They're doing it. And they have a reason to normalize it in society. They have an agenda because they are pedophiles. So when you look at that, it makes sense to eject inject another culture into ours that is where it's already normalized. It makes sense to start flooding the social media platforms with these AI bots, and they're not even bots, they're AI. They're they'll be fully fledged human beings as far as you and I are concerned, online. They just don't have a physical body. But flooding the social media platforms with these AI accounts and normalizing pedophilia. If there's anything we should push back against, it's that. The children. I mean, that's one of the things that is the core of Western civilization, is we protect our children. That's at the heart of it. Freedom, and we want our children to be safe and free. We don't want them to be harmed. We value our children. Maybe that's the absolute core of it. They're not livestock, they're not cattle, they're not something to be sold or bought or used. They're human beings to be protected and nurtured. And I see this shit happening to Western civilization, and it really bothers me. So we need to figure out how to stop it. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. T-shirts, coffee mugs, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate that. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email's over on the channel page. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.